Welcome back to the GIST English Masterclass. So today in this explainer, we're going to look at something that'll honestly completely change how you write and speak at work. We are tackling a grammar point that pretty much all of us learned in school, but honestly, very few of us truly understand how to wield effectively. Yep, I'm talking about the passive voice. Usually people just think of it as a mistake, right? Like it's that thing your English teacher aggressively circled in red ink and told you to avoid at all costs. Well, today we're going to completely transform the passive voice from a supposed grammar mistake into a really powerful strategic communication tool.
Here's our curriculum for today's class. 1. The passive voice myth. 2. Focusing on the result. 3. The diplomat's toolkit. 4. When to actually avoid it. And 5. Tone is power. Let's jump right in.
Section 1. The passive voice myth and why it's actually a strategic choice.
You've probably heard the advice 1,000 times, right? Avoid the passive voice. It gets drilled into us from day one of writing class. But here's the honest truth. That advice is just way too simple. In business English, academic English, and especially in things like customer service or formal emails, the passive voice isn't just some basic grammar structure. It's a calculated communication strategy. But before we get into the overarching strategy, let's just quickly nail down the mechanics. To build the passive voice, you literally just need 2 steps. The verb be plus a past participle. That's it. That's your technical foundation. So keep this simple 2-step structure in mind as we see how it actually functions out there in the real world.
You see, this incredibly simple grammatical shift completely changes the focus of your sentence. In the active voice, like the manager approved the proposal, the star of the sentence, the main character, really, is the manager. But when we flip that to the passive voice and say the proposal was approved by the manager, well, the focus shifts entirely from the person doing the action directly to the result. The proposal itself becomes the star. And honestly, that's the fundamental magic trick of the passive voice. It lets you redirect the spotlight wherever you need it to go.
Moving on to Section 2. Focusing on the result or outcomes over people.
And this brings us perfectly to your first real workplace superpower. In professional environments, we so often need to emphasize outcomes, actions, and processes rather than the actual people doing them. Comparing the active, Sarah completed the report, to the passive, the report was completed yesterday, you can instantly hear how the passive sentence just sounds more professional. Why is that? Well, because in a business context, the absolutely most important detail is usually just the work itself. We don't always need to know it with Sarah. We literally just need to know the job is done and we can move forward. It depersonalizes the whole process in the best way possible.
Just imagine you're giving a high-stakes update in a big executive meeting. You've got exactly 5 minutes to brief the senior leadership team. You definitely wouldn't want to list every single person's name for every minor task. That totally bogs down the narrative. And frankly, executives usually just care about the bottom line. Instead, saying something like, "The budget has been reviewed," or "The contract has been signed," or "The invoice has been processed," focuses entirely on the work done. It sounds clean, it's efficient, and it's highly objective. It keeps your leadership focused on progress, not personnel, which makes sure your meeting moves quickly and your update sounds incredibly sharp.
Section 3. The Diplomat's Toolkit and Tactful Communication.
Just a quick check-in before we look at these diplomatic examples. If you are following the explanation, then click the like button. Awesome. Now, professional communication often requires some serious tact, and tact simply means saying something honestly, but in a careful and really respectful way. This is exactly where the passive voice truly shines as a strategic tool to protect relationships and, keep the peace at work. Let's dive right into the fine art of workplace diplomacy and see exactly how we can deliver bad news without making enemies. Imagine there's an error in a crucial document. The direct, active approach would be to say, "You made a mistake in the report." Ouch, right? That's direct for sure, but it sounds highly personal and very accusatory. When people hear "you did this," their defenses instantly go up. Now consider the diplomatic version. A mistake was found in the report. This brilliant little passive shift entirely avoids pointing fingers. It makes the feedback way less personal, far more professional, and it focuses everyone's energy on fixing the issue rather than placing blame. Because let's face it, when people feel attacked, they get defensive.
The passive voice completely removes the ego from the equation, preserving psychological safety in your team.
And it's not just for internal meetings either. Customer service experts use this technique all the time to create a much softer professional tone. Instead of saying to a client, "We cannot process this because you sent the wrong document," which, let's be honest, sounds really aggressive and confrontational, a pro is going to say, "Your request cannot be processed because the required document was not provided." You're giving the exact same information, you're setting the exact same boundary, but you've entirely removed the personal attack. The client hears a standard policy instead of a personal reprimand. Or consider a formal scenario, like an audit or a compliance review. The basic active version might be, "We checked the documents and we found some errors." It's okay, but it sounds a bit amateur for high-stakes correspondence. Now listen to the professional version. "The documents were reviewed and several errors were identified." This polished, refined passive voice sounds highly suitable for a corporate context. It sounds official, objective, and frankly elevated. It reassures the reader that a rigorous, systematic process took place, without getting bogged down in who exactly was holding the clipboard.
Section 4. When to avoid it and the need for the active voice.
Now, every superpower has its kryptonite, right? The passive voice is a fantastic tool, absolutely, but it should definitely not be overused. If you use it for literally everything, your communication is going to start sounding robotic, evasive, and pretty vague. For instance, if you're making a promise to a colleague or a client, saying the file will be sent by 5 p.m. is super evasive. Sent by who? Is it guaranteed? When you need absolute clarity and direct action, the active voice is strictly better. "I will send you the file by 5 p.m. is the clear winner here because it clearly demonstrates personal responsibility. So the absolutely crucial point to remember here is this: active voice equals ownership. When you need to show accountability, like when you want your boss or your client to know that you are taking charge of a situation, you must use the active voice. Say, "I will follow up tomorrow," or "Our team will review the proposal." Use the active voice for responsibility and reserve that passive voice for objectivity and diplomacy. Real leaders don't hide behind passive processes. They step up and own the action. Striking that balance is key.
Section 5. Tone is power. And our actionable takeaways.
To wrap up this explainer, I'm going to give you some absolute gold for your workplace emails. These are phrases you can drop directly into your daily communication to immediately elevate your impact. Rapid fire, here we go. The matter is being reviewed. The issue has been resolved. The payment has been processed. The meeting has been rescheduled. Further details will be provided soon. These are incredibly practical, completely professional, and they'll instantly upgrade your communication style to make you sound like a seasoned executive who's handling business calmly and effectively. If you take just one core philosophy away from this explainer, let it be this: passive voice is not bad English. Passive voice is strategic English. Mastering this structure gives you absolute control over your tone. And in professional environments, controlling your tone means controlling exactly how your message is received. It helps you sound diplomatic, formal, and hyper-focused on results. It's the difference between just translating your thoughts and truly managing professional relationships. So I'll leave you with this final provocative question. How will you use your tone? Now that you know the mechanics and the underlying strategy, I really encourage you to actively and strategically choose your voice at work tomorrow. Don't just default to what comes to mind first. Think about the outcome you want, think about the person receiving the message, and choose the grammatical structure that gets you there. See you in the next class.